Ow, 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 ow. Okay, I'll do it. But you're picking up the tab tonight. To make up for her lack of screen time last week, the Precure decided to actually celebrate their new teammates' arrival on their planet. Well, that's what happens when they keep rotating these writers around. Uni, understandably not wanting to partake in another planet's food as it might not match well with her biology, looking at you, Lala, took out one of her cookies from a few episodes back. You know, that same cookie she told Fuwa that she shouldn't eat? Well... Jeez, what part of don't get 'em wet or feed 'em after midnight do you girls not understand? Even though water is actually supposed to be the multiplier. And in fact, what would a monstrous Fuwa look like? Sorry I asked. In actuality, the thing that was causing Fuwa's intoxicated multiplication, again great stuff to show the kiddies, was the Nepeta Catarrhea aka Catnip inside of it. Yeah, apparently Uni's people just so happen to be cultivating a plant identical to the one on our planet, which for cat people, wouldn't that be like growing marijuana? Well, unfortunately for all of us, it had a much worse side effect on the plushie, as with every hiccup, Fuwa created 3 more clones that all had only one thought on their mind. Feed me all night long. But in complete opposition to my previous reference, ink was what was making them go away. Yet, in spite of having a magical book that could supply them with an infinite amount of food, it wasn't enough to stave off the horde. Fuwa's clones continued to fill up the ship until it had no choice but to open up the doors to let them out. Thus, the Precure had to deal with their greatest challenge yet and try to wrangle up all of these wild fluff balls. Realizing that her weed cookie was what started all of this, Uni took the initiative to try and find the real Fuwa before anything happened to her. Elena quickly followed her because this one close-up earlier in the episode was meant to signify this was also an Elena episode. Honestly, it's hard to tell with this character sometimes. Anyway, to deal with any clones they might run into, she brought a bag full of bread crust that she had cut off the sandwiches for the party. I'm guessing since Elena cooks for all of her siblings, she was saving those to make croutons later. But even without any sort of seasoning or taste whatsoever, they somehow were enough to make the clones poof away. So basically, these things had the taste buds of Yoko Nishikawa? And conveniently, they had just enough to stave off a crowd of clones. This then led into probably the funniest bit of the episode as Hikaru and Prudes arrived to pass on some donuts to them, with the latter trying to advertise his product, and everyone talked over him. And honestly, considering that bread crusts were enough, they probably didn't need to make anything fancy and could probably get away with some basic cake donuts or even
plain sugar.
The team ended up splitting up, with Madoka and Lala dealing with one swarm of clones, Elena and Uni another, and Hikaru somehow ended up needing to explain to her grandparents that she didn't have a boyfriend. Yeah, she was trying to cover up the Fuwa clones, but kind of random just throwing this little cliche into excusing our supposed main character for much of the events of this episode. Elsewhere, Uni and Elena managed to find both the real Fuwa and many of her clones. Saddest part about all this is the fact that I find the invasion of the Fuwas to be several times more terrifying than anything the Note Raiders have done all season. Speaking of whom, Kapart showed up. Seriously, dude, you could just take the week off. The Fuwa clone army made their way into the C square. Doris, I think the dementia is starting to kick in. And while the senile old ladies were actually a non-factor, the C square definitely had civilians they couldn't risk exposing themselves to. So Uni provided a distraction by once again donning her galactic idol persona and doing a very poorly animated song sequence. In case you couldn't tell, this is another Mitsuru Aoyama episode, but at least it's been relegated to a pointless filler episode where it belongs. And as bad as these animation loops are, at least the song was good enough to allow Elena to lure the Fuwas out of town and be dealt with accordingly. However, the real Fuwa still managed to slip away, driving Uni into a panic. And okay, well, I'll say right now that I don't think this is a great episode overall. This scene is really good, as Uni revealed how guilty she felt over causing all of this. Yes, it was completely unintentional and an accident, but wasn't there also another little accident that brought upon the near genocide of another planet? Yeah, while they don't actually reference it any time in the episode, Uni's guilt here could be interpreted as her relating it back to the downfall of her own planet because of I-1's carelessness. I guess you could say it's a bit of survivor's guilt, and really, who in their right mind would ever want to have any sort of connection with that Valley Girl Cyclops? Though more importantly, this gave Elena a much needed character moment as her elder sister instincts kicked in, as she assured Uni that all of her teammates were more than willing to help bail her out. Yeah, it doesn't make up for the sheer lack of development she's gotten so far, but at least it's something. Following this, Capard finally landed, took him a while to find parking, and he tried to find the real Fuwa at the same time as Elena and Uni. And unfortunately, his sharp eyes managed to catch Uni going for the real one, and he intercepted her. The rest of the cures arrived, leading to our fight of the week. Yeah, remember, Capard doesn't actually make monsters, but rather weapons. In this case, he used the many Fuwa clones to make a what the hell? Capard, you're the one villain in the show I actually kind of like, so heed my advice, quit while you at least have some dignity. But yeah, he created his giant Q-tip of death with the imaginations of the mostly mindless Fuwa clones, because really anything qualifies for imagination these days. Though to Capard's credit, he did kinda make it work, though that also might have had to do with Aoyama's stiff animation. As a result, Uni was briefly taken out, but quickly rescued by her teammates. Using some fairly impressive teamwork, though I'm noticing no one's using their pens, the Precure managed to get Uni up to Capard's ship to rescue Fuwa. She got her and threw her towards Capard? Oh no wait, she actually threw her towards Hikaru. Yeah, animators, maybe you should have had her throwing it in a different direction than where Capard is. Again, Aoyama episodes, so really shouldn't be expecting even good storyboarding. Anyway, they rescued Fuwa and dispelled Capard's weapon. Alright, good job Capard. You pulled an R-Truth and made a horrible gimmick work. With that, they got rid of the Fuwa clones, with the real one not producing anymore since she was both sober and the hiccups were gone due to the shock of being grabbed by Capard. Thus, the episode ended with the Precure having a makeshift welcome party by splitting up the last donut amongst all 7 of them. Honestly, all I can say to sum up this episode is that, well, it was an episode. I mean, that middle part was actually pretty good, but otherwise, it was an Aoyama animated filler episode, so it doesn't really leave a strong impression on me either way. While I kind of acted like I really hated this one, I'll fully admit right now, I exaggerated a little. I mean, I'm still not a huge Fuwa fan, and hearing her squeaky voice in surround sound certainly didn't help. Then again, that was probably the point of this episode. Basically, this was a G-rated version of one of the movies that originally created the PG-13 rating. So in that sense, the clones annoying gag kind of worked for some surreal humor, I guess. Still found them annoying, but I did appreciate it regardless. The alien mogwais aside, the main event and takeaway from this week was definitely the all too brief exchange between Elena and Uni. Not only did we finally get at least a little more development for Elena, but we also got to see a really good side to Uni. The ex-thief exhibited a very strong sense of responsibility, possibly from seeing her world get the Dr. Stone experience. It's a really good character trait that I do hope they legit link back to her past, like how this episode brought up what seemed like a throwaway joke at first. Yeah, now that I think about it, I do like little bits of continuity like this, though it's ultimately doing it for a poorly animated filler episode. Nothing truly bad here, but just like Fuwa herself, this is mostly just fluff. A few things I want to bring up this week. First, if you've been following me on Twitter, you might have noticed me retweeting this NHK article about Precure popularity poll they're holding until September 14th. If you can read Japanese, I do suggest checking it out, as you can pick from your favorite production, Precure, character who isn't a Precure basically, and song. I'll talk about my personal favorite of that last category in the final part of the STPC review that's coming very soon. Sometime later this week, I'll probably do a short reaction video to the Star Twinkle movie trailer. I'll do my usual shtick, make a few dumb jokes here and there, and then take a look at the staff and their previous contributions to this franchise. I'm willing to bet I'm still gonna get requests to look at that trailer because I know that some of you guys don't bother watching until the end of these videos in spite of how much sleep I lose making them, but whatever. Anyway, look forward to all of that, and until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and say, where did Haruka-san go? That sounded like it came from the pool downstairs.